There was in the fires of Mount Doom one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Truth in Movies. We're breaking down part 3 of The Lord of the Rings, officially known as The Return of the King. Ooh, lots of symbolism. If you liked the last 2, you're in for a treat. This one's going to be amazing. Last time on JayDreamerZ, we picked up the surviving members of the Fellowship have split into 3 groups. You got Frodo and Sam. They face many perils on their continuing quest to save Middle-earth by destroying the One Ring in the fires of Mount Doom. Merry and Pippin escape from the orcs and must convince the Ents. Remember we learned about the tree people, the Ents? They must convince the Ents to join the battle against evil. Aragorn, aka Strider, Gimli, and Legolas encounter a mysteriously transformed Gandalf and battle Saruman's army. Saruman's army. I feel like I should say everything with like an epic voice. At Helm's Deep. And we talked a lot of this about the symbolism of Helm's Deep. We talked about Hod Mimi's Holt, the Garden of Eden, the World Tree, and we're certainly not going to stray too far away from that one. Let's jump into the movie and let's go ahead and kick things off. Hello everybody in the chat. I do see you. I'm not going to be in the chat this entire time because we've got a long road to travel. So let's begin. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Who is the king? What king are they talking about? This movie's got so many different kings, it's hard to keep track, but I'm going to fill you in on all of them. All right, so the movie starts off with Gollum, or Sméagol, his real name. This is Sméagol whenever he was actually a hobbit. Very interesting. This is the first scene in the movie. You see how he's staring at the hook, right? This is the same look that he gives to his precious, right? The hook is the Vav, the number 6 for those of you who are new to my channel. And it represents that peg, that spear, that arrow, so many different terms for it, but a light, a sky beam that shoots up from the earth itself, from within the earth itself, every other apocalyptic cycle. This movie is apocalyptic, by the way. It literally just tells us point blank many times. And this movie, this third installment will be no exception. All right, so we're going back in time to when Sméagol was a hobbit. And him and his buddy Deagle are out fishing. Deagle catches something, and Sméagol's super excited for him. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Before we get too far into this, I want you to be able to see the words. So let me fix that real quick. Flip it. Words. There we go. Boom, boom. All right, cool. We're going to fix that real quick there. Boom. Boom. There we go. See how he says I've got one? Okay, that should do the trick. All right, sorry about that. All right, so they're out fishing. This is before Sméagol had found the ring. This is the ring's origin story as far as Sméagol finding it. Now, this one little tiny hobbit, he gets pulled down into the river, and he's being pulled along by this fish. He sees the ring. It's really interesting. Sméagol wasn't the one that found the ring, actually. He stole it. Somebody else had found the ring, and he wanted it bad. His buddy Deagle over here, Deagle and Sméagol. Hey, Farida, thank you for the donation. I appreciate you. Deagle and Sméagol are out fishing. Deagle actually finds the ring. He's the one that grabs it. Now, remember, we talked about Sméagol's name, right? Shmi means my name. What is his name? Agol. Sméagol. Sméagol, Agol means ring, means circular like a ring. We talked about that. So D, Agol, also must have a similar meaning. The letter D, or Dalet, in ancient Hebrew and Phoenician, the word picture for that is a door, right? An opening and a ring together. That's Deagle's name. Here's a picture of it. You can see the letter Dalet there. It means a door. All right, so Deagle picks up the ring and he's like, whoa, this is amazing. Check out what I just found. And he's holding it. It's really interesting when he finds the ring. Remember how we talked about how the ring symbolizes worlds, or possibly could symbolize various realms that are typically ring-shaped, seen as like the 9 worlds on the tree, the world tree of Yggdrasil, which we'll come back to. The ring comes up out of the mud. Symbolically, for me, this is our world. When we go through these apocalyptic cycles, the earth shakes and it causes liquefaction worldwide. Liquefaction is whenever the water that is already inside of the soil rises up to the top. Oh, let me make sure. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Hold on. Let me just boom. I'm in the chat. I'm pretty sure everyone can hear me, right? Everything's good. Audio's good. All right. I'm going to keep on, but I'm going to keep my eyes on the chat just in case. All right, so he picks up the ring. Now he starts to like tickle the ring. Do you notice this, right? In the movie, there, Schmiegel is always like doing a little circular motion. He's sort of rubbing it like it's a magic lamp or something, right? They sort of like keep touching the ring, but they go around in circles like that. It's really interesting. So he says, "Give us that, Deagle, my love." I can't do his voice, but I'll try. Give us that. So he wants it off the start. He says, "It's my birthday and I wants it." Interesting, this movie, the last one, right, the third installment, starts off with a birthday. It's Schmiegel's birthday. The first movie started off with Bilbo's birthday. Both of those are birthdays. Why? Because the apocalyptic event is a cosmic birthday, so to speak. It's the arrival of the king. It's the arrival of the birth of the king, or one of the savior type figures in the world, and God figures and stuff that's born out of a cave. He says, "It's my birthday and I want it." Right on. Thank you, chat. Appreciate you guys. So, looks like the sound's good, so we're going to move forward. Now he's like, give us the ring or whatever. And his buddy's like, "What? Dude, what are you trying to do?" They start fighting over the ring, right? This right here goes back to the story out of the Bible in the book of Genesis and the Garden of Eden, where you had two brothers, essentially, that wanted one of them wanted to kill each other. It was Cain and Abel. This is the old Cain and Abel story. And whenever Cain killed his brother Abel, there was a curse. It's the first curse that's mentioned in the Bible. And we're going to see that here in a minute too, as Schmiegel chokes the life out of his own buddy, out of his own friend. This is also prophecy too. You see, we're in these days. We're in the days whenever a brother will turn against his brother, a family will turn against their daughters and their sons and everything. The energies become so amplified that people will literally start becoming plasma possessed, or their spirit energy becomes amplified all over the place. All right, so he kills Deagle and he doesn't even care. Doesn't give it a second thought. Welcome, Anthony Michael Kerr. I see you again. Good to see you in the chat. So he says, "My precious." This is all that he cares about, right? This is all that he wants. This prize. Precious literally means prize. The root word comes from the word prize. And prize basically means that it has value, or you can sell it or get something from it. It's his prized possession. Now, because he kills this guy and he grabs the ring amplifies this energy, right? It calls out to whatever evil may be lurking inside of an individual, and it amplifies it. And that the person becomes possessed to the point, or tempted to the point of possession, I should say, where they can almost no longer decide for themselves. It is the ring that is in control. And that ring represents that spirit energy, that vibration, that negative vibration, the selfish vibration, the vibration that says to destroy, to steal, to kill, those types of things. So Schmiegel kills his buddy. He's cursed, and he says, "They cursed us. Murderer, they called us." This is the voice of the accuser. The accuser of the brethren is this particular energy that we're talking about. It does not seek for oneness. It seeks only to divide and thus to conquer. "They cursed us and drove us away." And then he starts hacking up along. Golem, golem, right? So he starts to change. What you're looking at right now is the evolution, or I don't know if evolution's a great word, adaptation, change, whatever it is, over time, of these individuals that survive as they go forward. Some individuals that survive apocalyptic conditions have good in their heart, and they adapt to the new environment, and they change, and they become maybe longer ears, look more elven or something. Others, they adapt as well. And many of those who adapt, who go underground, my research indicates that they start to become sort of a pasty white type of a thing. Much like in the movie Time Machine, actually, there was those creatures that went underground and they were mutated, basically. All right. The earth became cursed as soon as the blood hit the ground. This is the biblical account of Cain and Abel. You can see he's starting to lose his teeth. He stops caring about cooking food. Hobbits love to cook, but he doesn't care. He starts just to eat everything raw, grabs his fish, starts to just sink his teeth right into it. I took a lot of pictures. I wanted you guys to get a good feel for that. Then Sméagol does his best Joker impersonation. It looks like to me, right? His best Heath Ledger Joker, I guess. I don't know. But this is not just a joke. This is actually representative of the real thing. Sméagol, I believe, is throughout the course of these 3 movies, he's talking about how they stole it from us, meaning the hobbits, meaning the small people. We are the small people. Right now, we don't feel that small because we're used to everything. But whenever the conditions in this world change and the world depressurizes and the energy changes in this world, I've talked a lot about it in my Plasma Apocalypse videos, but basically the conditions change in this world to allow gigantic growth, or natural growth as I would call it. But those of us who have already gone past the age of puberty, we may remain a similar size while our offspring, our progeny, grows and grows and grows into the giants and titans of the future. So I see us as being like the hobbits, and I see Sméagol as being representative of those entities, those beings, the Anunnaki, aliens, fallen angels, or whatever, that fell down or floated down into this world during the apocalyptic cycle, got stuck in here, and they are this skin tone. They're the skin tone of the Joker. I affectionately call them the killer clowns from outer space, because to me, that's basically what they are. Sméagol climbs into a cave. You're going to see a lot of symbolism whenever they show you caves and stuff. This one is showing you an eyeball. They do this imagery to grab the attention of the viewer, knowing that your subconscious will associate the way that it looks, won't pick up on the fact that you're looking at an eyeball, right? Or the image of an eye. It kind of looks like an eye, right? They did that purposefully. It's the eye of Sauron. It's the ring. He crawls into the ring, basically. And we forgot the taste of bread. Let's see. They forgot the taste of bread. When you go through the apocalypse, there's going to be a lot of people that don't know how to cook, don't know how to put things together. They're going to become kind of like Sméagol. They're just going to grab animals. They know they can eat animals, or, some animals. They'll just start eating them. They don't know how to make a fire. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to do anything. Some people may become pretty savage and primitive. It's very possible. We forgot the sound of trees. I'm not too loud, am I? That'd be weird. We forgot the sound of trees. What is the sound of trees? 2 things. 1, trees talking. The vibrations that trees give off. Trees do talk, just like we talked about in the last movie, The Two Towers. So they lost the ability, or Sméagol lost the ability, to telepathically communicate with other beings. And there is no wind. I mean, there's wind in the movie, but after the apocalypse, it very well may be that because the world has been depressurized, that pressure hasn't built up quick enough for wind to even exist, right? It's probably going to take very many decades or hundreds of years, who knows, for the wind itself to return. We forgot the sound of the trees, the softness of the wind. And as you can see, he's starting to change there too. Now, this is also something else. I believe that the outside, the physical, is a reflection of the inside, whatever's happening on the inside, the spiritual or the energetic. And I believe that definitely applies to our bodies, to what we actually look like. If I lived to be 1,000 years old instead of, I don't know, however old, the average lifespan's what, like 72, which is terrible. Not good. I don't vote for that. But if I live to be 1,000 years old and I have hatred in my heart, it stands to reason that the body will start to reflect that hatred, that tension, that anxiety, that depression, that sadness, that sickness, and the body starts to change to reflect that. Why? As a sign to let us know, so that we can look at it, see what's clearly going on the outside, so that we can dive in and fix what's happening on the inside. It's a heart condition for him. We even forgot our own name. He forgot his own name. The name is your description. The name is a part of who we are, right? We even forgot our own name. And then you can see him just kind of transforming there. His abs get bigger and stuff. Now we go back to, meanwhile, we go to Sam and Frodo. Here's Frodo. Frodo busts out the ring. He didn't really like to touch it at first. Thank you, KT baby. He didn't really like to mess with the ring, but the longer he holds on to this ring, the more attached to it he becomes, right? The longer we stay in this world, the more attached to this world we become. The more we forget about all of the other wonderful, amazing realms and worlds out there in the cosmos, right? And we get used to it. We become accustomed. We become institutionalized, as Morgan Freeman says. So he busts out the ring, and then boom, Smeagol pops down into this little cave opening, and he says, "Wake up! Wake up!" For one of the first things the movie says is to wake up. Remember, they're not always talking to the characters as so much as they are talking to you and to me, the viewers of the show. So remember, they're on their way to Mount Doom. This is symbolically the path, the journey of the truth seeker on their way to the holy mountain, right? What is the holy mountain? I believe that it is a plasma volcano. I believe that there are many openings in this world, but a main one, a huge, gigantic, steep cliff where the main amount of plasma shoots up out at the North Pole. And as you can see, it actually makes a volcano shape right there. You see how they did that again? The first cave, they made an eyeball shape. The second cave, they made a volcano shape. Also, the letter M, which is one of the reasons I believe that people... symbolically, they include the letter M, like in Freemasonry and stuff like that. You'll see a lot of M's and double M's. All right, so Sam comes up out of the cave and he says, "Oh man, I slept too long. It must be getting late." Frodo says, No. You didn't sleep too long. It's not getting late. It's not even midday yet. The days are growing darker. All right, so how does that apply to the world that we live in today? Personally, I feel like the actual amount of time in our days is growing shorter. Like there is less daytime in the days that we live in. That's just me, but that's also a prophecy from Jesus in the Bible. His disciples asked him, "Hey, what's one of the signs that we need to look for that the apocalypse is right around the corner?" He says, "Watch the time, watch the days. They'll get shorter. The days will grow shorter. The amount of daylight in the daytime grows shorter or shortens." All right, and then Smeagol talks straight to us one more time, and he says, "Must go. No time. Must go." They're saying, "Hey, wake up, everyone. Wake up. Pack your stuff. Get up. Go. There's no time." No time for what? Well, there's a couple of things. One, there's no time for us to dilly-dally. We need to work on ourselves. We need to figure out what our purpose is. We need to set a fire under our own butts because there's a purpose. There's a reason behind all of this. There's a reason why the truth seekers of the world are here and spread out like seeds on the earth. And he says there's no time. So the other reason is because there is an exodus. There is a quest. There is a holy trip that is made, I've found, by many cultures, different civilizations. They tend to fluctuate. They go to the North Pole for safety, which is where the ancient Garden of Eden may have been. Hod Mimi's Holt in Ragnarok, where Leif and Leifbrazir find safety underneath a tree. And they literally need to go, but these civilizations, they flock there and then they spread out and they leave every other apocalypse. And this brings us to the title. We haven't even got to the title yet. The Return of the King. There's another, that definitely looks like a volcano in the background. I'm not sure. But remember, this is Isengard. That's the place that sort of looked like the, symbolically the North Pole with the tower in the middle, circular area around the sides. It was destroyed by a flood, just like our world was destroyed, according to tradition, by a flood in times past. So we go back to Isengard, where the wizard and company walk up to the tower, and the Ent, Treebeard, is guarding the area. Shadow Maven, hey, welcome. They look up to the Ent, and he says, "Hey, I need some help. There's a wizard to manage here." He says it way slower than that, because trees take a long time to talk. "Locked in this tower," right? And Saruman. Oh, and then that's whenever the white wizard Gandalf says, "And there Saruman must remain. Under your guard, Treebeard." Treebeard symbolically is seen as the guardian, the new guardian, right? After this sort of small-scale apocalypse happened to Isengard, now the wizard, the wise one, is locked into the tower. Treebeard is standing guard over the wizard who is locked in the tower. And this is a symbolism that we see a lot. Sometimes it's a princess locked in a tower. Sometimes it's somebody else, but this time it's an evil wizard. Now remember, that blue beam that we look at and that red plasma, it depends on your perspective. Some people will see one as being the enemy or evil, and the other as being good, and the others will see it flip-flopped. They'll see it vice versa. Gimli looks up and says, well, let's just halve his head then and be done with it. So he's like, let's just go kill that wizard, right? This, I feel like a lot of truth seekers around the world, even myself, could probably relate to. You get so frustrated with the evil in the world, you almost are tempted to meet evil with evil. You want to go and just go above and beyond and destroy it, right? Even though the opportunity isn't, like, even though it may not be necessary to do so, we get that temptation, and that, I believe that has to do with the energy of the world that we live in. So, being the wise one, Gandalf says no. He has no power anymore. So the old frequency in this world loses its power. Treebeard says the filth of Saruman is washing away. Trees have come back to live here. So, where's the trees in our world? They're gone. I mean, we have like little bushes and stuff that we call trees. But for the most part, the great trees, our world is no longer a forest world. So what you're looking at is like our world right now, where the trees have been destroyed and replaced by industry, and mankind has taken over. This, in the movie, is basically showing you what may have just happened right before this age, right? When our earth was more magical and inclined to wonderful things. So, the group travel back to the Skyrim city. And let's see, we go into the Skyrim little town here. Skyrim's a video game that I like. I do reference it sometimes. And he says, remember, they just won a huge battle at Helm's Deep. A lot of people died. So this little Skyrim king guy, I forgot his name, he says, hail the victorious dead. Hail the victorious dead. The word hail, and they all say, hail, hail. They're hailing the dead. What does that mean, right? It doesn't just mean cheers. Cheers, everyone. Let's just drink to the dead. The word hail means healthy. It means good health, basically, as you can see here, right? Well, let's see. Let's make it a little bigger so you can actually see here. Hail. Boom. There we go. To be healthy. So whenever you hail someone, you are wishing them health. That's where that comes from, right? To hail. All right. So let's go back to Strider, a.k.a. Aragorn. And this blonde chick walks up to him and she's like, sklibidibidibidoo. And he's like, oh, you speak Elvish, huh? Because she's totally trying to flirt with him and stuff, but he's still, he can't do it because he likes the elf girlfriend that he has already. Plasma Moon, hey, welcome. All right, so she hands him a cup. This is seen symbolically as the transfer of power. It looks like he's praying or something, but he's actually holding a cup there. The cup is transferred from the female energy to the male energy and vice versa. And as you can see, they're wearing the red appropriately and the blue appropriately, right? They're two different energies, masculine and feminine together. These are the two who cannot be, okay? That female energy and the male energy cannot ever stay together, okay? Whenever they're represented symbolically in the movies, they're always split apart, because when they come together, if they come together, there's an apocalyptic event. Bad things happen, right? They want to be together, but they're always pushed apart. Something always keeps them from being together. And he's like, oh man, I totally just drank from this cup. I wonder what my elf girlfriend's going to think. And she's all excited about it because she totally has a crush on him. Let's go back to the hobbits. The hobbits are on the table dancing. Now listen to the song that they sing, right? Tolkien wrote this song, and they do all of this. They put all these songs and everything in here, not just because they sound fun, but they put them in for a reason. Gollum. Oh my God. I hate that. All right. All right, so the hobbits are on the table, and they're singing this song. You can drink your fancy ales, you can drink 'em by the flagon, but the only brew for the brave and true comes from the comes from the green dragon. Sorry, I'm super messed that up. But let's actually read it instead of listening to the lyrics or, to the melody or whatever. You can drink your fancy ales. You can drink your fancy drinks. You can drink them by the flag, and you can drink a bunch of them. But the only brew for the brave and the true comes from the green dragon. What the hell are they talking about? The green dragon symbolically represents the aurora borealis, okay? The sky dragon up there in the sky is the plasma that moves about like a serpent or serpentine, like slithering up there in the sky, the fire dragons and whatnot. The green one is the heart dragon. It's the heart chakra. Okay, so the only brew for the brave and the true, it doesn't matter what everyone else is drinking. You can have alcohol, you can have all your substances, you can have Kool-Aid, you can drink whatever, but the only brew that is really the one that matters most for the brave and the true is the green plasma, the green energy, the heart energy. They say that you should drink that in instead, basically. All right, so Strider, aka, I should call him by his other name now, Aragorn says, every day, Frodo moves closer to Mordor. He's trying to be positive, right? He's like, this is good. Like, Frodo's on the way. They're going to destroy the ring. I've got a good feeling about it. But then Gandalf is like, do we know that, though? I mean, really, do we know that? Right? And then Strider's like, what does your heart tell you? And then he looks at him. He's like, look at you, human. Okay, right on. Good. I'm impressed. Right? What does your heart tell you? I feel like Gandalf was sort of testing him, right? Because a wizard of Gandalf's stature or status should know better than to, act so hopeless. And then he's just filled with the most happiness because he sees this future king, one of the survivors of the world to come, passing this sort of little test, right? Saying, what does your heart tell you? Go with your heart instead of giving in to despair and hopelessness. And Gandalf flashes him a little smile. Then they go back to Sméagol, aka Gollum, and he says he's sleeping. When they go to Sméagol, okay, when they go to the hobbits, every single time in this movie they're sleeping. People sleep more in this movie or wake up in this movie than in any movie I've ever seen in my life. There's a lot of waking up from sleeping happening in this movie. Symbolically, they're telling you, wake up, stay awake, don't fall asleep. They're showing people waking up left and right. They even tell you, wake up, right? It's all over the movie. So he's dreaming and he says, they stole it from us, right? We, the humans, inherited from the gods who had left the last time the earth. We inherited the ring. We inherited the realm. So he's pretty jealous about it and he's talking about killing them. And as you can see, the other two are over there sleeping and they says, shh, quiet, mustn't wake them, right? Now, he represents those beings, to me, he represents those beings that are in charge of this world, okay? The ones who are the elites of the world, and we have stolen the world away from them or whatnot, right? They sort of work behind the scenes as the puppet masters. And he says, quiet, mustn't wake them. The governments of the world, the people, the powers that be, they don't want to wake us, okay? They don't want to wake the people. They don't want to wake the population. They want you in a nice, dull lull. They want you asleep and snoring away as they prepare for Ragnarok and stuff. But they suspects us, right? So now he's having this little internal argument with himself. We suspect them, right? I mean, I do. I definitely suspect them. The question is, what do we do about that suspicion, right? Let's see what Sam and Frodo do about it. First, we must lead them to her. Okay, so first, on the grand scale of things, those beings that seem like they are the evil ones in our world, or they are, right? They still serve a purpose. Everything is working together for good, as it says in the Bible. For those of us who are the lovers of truth, I'll say, right? And he says, first we must lead them to her. First, they must lead us to the truth. They must lead us to the answers, right? I personally feel like those people who are in charge of this world have certain codes or even universal laws that they must live by, whether they know it or not. One of those is disclosure. That's why we do truth in movies, because it's disclosure. First, we must lead them to her. We lead them to the winding stair, right? The winding stair symbolically is Jacob's ladder, right? It is the tree, the world tree at the middle of the world, the beam that shoots up. To the tunnel. The tunnel's the Sipapu, the plasma conduits or whatever that take you. The tunnel is Alice's rabbit hole or Coraline's little passage between houses or whatever. It's the tunnel the passageway between worlds, basically, symbolically speaking. You have to go there as a truth seeker. And when they go in, there's no coming out, right? Now, if we're talking about physically traveling to the realm at the North Pole, the lands beyond the North, or Hyperborea, etc., the Garden of Eden, etc., the legends do indicate that it's pretty hard to get out once you go in. Either that, or people find it to be so wonderful and amazing that they don't tend to come back. They choose to stay there. She's always hungry. She always needs to feed. Now he's talking about the hole in the sky that sucks everything up. This is the world eater symbolism. She always needs to feed. It's the spider grandmother, the spider goddess or spider god, etc., that is seen as eating and feeding, Kronos, etc., that sucks up the children into the sky and eats them and spits them back out, etc. Okay, so Sam wakes up and he totally hears him talking about killing the two. And he says, "You miserable little maggot, I'll stove your head in." And he goes nuts, right? He's been wanting to punch Smeagol in the face. He wants to do that just as bad as many of you probably, have similar thoughts about, the leaders of the free world today. I don't know why I called it the free world, because it's not the free world. But the leaders of the world today, right? You just so upset when you come to the knowledge of truth and stuff. You become so zealous that you almost are just tempted to give in and meet fire with fire, which is what Sam does. He becomes too passionate, too zealous. And Frodo, which means peace, Frodo has to stop him. Frodo has to temper Sam with reasoning, right? So let's listen to what Frodo says. He says, "You'll scare him off, man. We're lost." That's us, the lost tribe, right? We're lost. We're scattered about. We don't know where to go. We don't remember that we need to get to the center of the maze, etc. He says, "We're lost, dude. That's our guide." Like, that's the only dude who knows where we're going. Don't beat him up. Don't kill him. He says, "I don't care. I can't do it, Mr. Frodo. I won't wait around for him to kill us." That's how many of you also feel about, like, the Illuminati and stuff. You just want action. You want them gone. But why are they here, right? I mean, if they were supposed to be gone, they would be, right? Isn't that kind of how it works? There must be a purpose. There must be some use there. I'm not excusing any of the bad actions by any of the evil and corrupt enterprises in the world, but I am saying there's always another side to the coin. And it's working for us, remember. He's a villain. Yes, he is a villain. But he says, "We can't do this by ourselves, Sam. Not without a guide." Right? We need guides in this world. We need people who are going to show us and be lights and show us and say, "Hey, there's the path." Whether or not they're on the path, or it matters not, as Alanon says from Shannara Chronicles. Then we go back over to Legolas, right? Legolas does two things in this movie. He busts out some arrows and he kills so many different people, right? He kills a lot of people with his arrows. And then he makes these weird, strange remarks about, like, he basically reads signs and omens. The elven people are very good at listening to the song of the world. He says, "The stars are veiled." Now, let's check this out, because the stars are clearly not veiled, as you can see, right? You see some stars up there? Hold on, let me make it a little bigger. Boom. You see all those stars? So they show you the stars are not veiled. And yet here's Legolas saying the stars are veiled. Veiled means hidden, covered, right? The stars are veiled. That means the stars have gone dark. And what that is, in our world, is a reference to the lights turning out before the apocalypse. Okay, it's one of the signs and the omens that we should heed and listen to when we start seeing strange things happening up there in the heavens, specifically when the lights start to go out. So Aragorn comes up to him, and they're talking about how something is stirring in the east. A sleepless malice. This is interesting, this whole east and west symbolism, right? For me, I've found that there are other symbolic directions, okay? for me, symbolically, east is not like off to the side that way or off to the side that way or whatever, but east is up towards the sky. And then west is inward towards the inside of the earth, symbolically speaking. Someone had asked me about that, so I wanted to clarify. It also reminds me of Mary Poppins, when Dick Van Dyke sings the song and he says, "Wind's in the east, mist coming in, like something is brewing about to begin." Anyways, the eye of the enemy is moving. All right, now we go to Pippin. All right, little Pip. Basically earlier, I kind of skipped this part, but there's this crystal bowling ball looking thing that allows you to connect. Basically, they use these little, they're called palatines, and they use them like cell phones in the movie to communicate. One wizard would talk instantly to the other wizard on the other side of the world. They had this sort of technology, right? And Pippin saw it and he wants it. So he walks up to Gandalf, who is sleeping with his eyes wide open. That is not Gandalf awake looking at Pippin. That's Gandalf passed out snoring, right? Wizards, many wizards, sleep with our eyes open. What does that mean? Does that mean that we actually physically sleep like that? Like we look like we're dead or something? No, that's not what that means. It means you lucidly dream. That this dream that we live in now, we are awake within it. That's the symbolism there. All right, so as you can see, he used to have this little bag that held this little magical bowling ball item, and it was replaced with a pitcher. So Pip takes the little bowling ball deal, puts his fingers on it, doing the whole finger of God symbolism. That's like a little world, like that's almost like you could look at that like on the Men in Black, how they have the little worlds or galaxies or whatever, like they're marbles, right? That's kind of like the symbolism happening here. In the fractalverse, Pippin is not that small. Pippin is gigantic, reaching down into another world, symbolically speaking. There you can see a better image of it. He puts his hands onto it, and the eye opens up, the eye of Sauron, right? And the energy courses through him. The world that he's holding onto, this little ball, burns. Everything catches fire. It looks like a little sun, sort of like how they portray the sun. Do you see that? Let's take a closer look at it. You see that? Would you like a closer look? Okay, Palantir. Let's check this out real quick. That's the name of the magical bowling ball. I like to rename things because it's fun. Palantir. The Palantir is one of several indestructible crystal balls from Tolkien's fantasy novel, The Lord of the Rings. And in the Elven tongue, it means to watch over. The Palantir were used for communication and to see events in other parts of Arda, whether past or future. So we've got Middle Earth. You're all familiar with Middle Earth. That's just a part of this realm in The Lord of the Rings. The entire realm is known as Arda, which is interesting because it's the exact same as Erda. Eretz, Erda, Arda. All of these have the same meaning. It means earth, land, realm. And ours is one of many earths or lands or realms. Now, Palantir sounds to me just like palindrome, right? So I looked up the word palindrome so I could get the root of the word palin, kind of like Sarah Palin, right? Same exact word. It means again or back. So something that is happening again or to go back or to sort of like a repetitious action, right? And then tir. Let me make this a little bigger. Sorry about that. So tir in Elvish basically means to watch, to look at, or to observe. So Palantir means to observe again, to watch again, to rewatch, right? Which is like prophecy, basically. That's why it's a crystal ball. And then the word tir, I believe, because I like etymology, I love languages, and the root. I like studying the roots of words. The root of the word tir is just tr. It's also the root of the word tor. Tor. We broke down the root word tor when we watched that movie Mandy together. Tor is an old word that basically carries the meaning of a high rocky hill, right? Like Glastonbury Tor, some of you are familiar with. It also is where we get our word tower from. So the two towers are the two tors in the last movie. Tor and tower are the same. So Palantir, or again, is or back means to go back to the tower. Interesting, right? All right. So the wizard immediately he doesn't even care. He's like, okay, you're alive. What did you see? Tell me what you see. This guy wants to know everything. Information is very important to Gandalf. And he says, a tree. I saw a tree. Okay. Now the movie is about to teach us how to read signs and omens and interpret dreams. And they do this all of the time, right? Through symbolism. He saw a tree. Of course he saw a tree. Which tree do you think that could be, right? There was a white tree. A white tree, okay. So there's a black tree and a white tree. There's a white tower and a black tower, always, right? One is sort of, you could see as the anode of our world, and the other is the cathode of our world. There was a white tree and a courtyard of stone. It was dead. So if the white tree that he dreams about is dead, that means symbolically the tree is not actually a tree, but it's a sky beam. It's energy coming up out of the world itself. And if it's dead, that means that it is retracted. That is telling you what is happening energetically. DB! Hey, thank you, DB. Super appreciate it. Happy Friday to you. Basically, the tree is retracted, okay? That is telling you which apocalyptic state you are in, okay? Are you in the realm as the energy is flowing up out of the world, or are you in the realm where the energy is being pulled down into the world, right? I saw a tree, a white tree. It was dead. Here's the tree. He says, Minas Tirith. Is that what you saw? Minas Tirith? Minas Tirith is the name of the city. This is a huge thing. I'm gonna go back to Minas Tirith many times because it's very interesting. But first, I want to break down the name of this city. It's a walled city where the white tree is, right? And the whole city is white, by the way, just like Gandalf. And not Caucasian white, but the white wizard, you know what I mean? And let's break down Minas Tirith. Now, Tir, we already just broke down. It means tower, right? Remember that. Tirith. Ith is a play on ot. Basically, it just means plural, more than one. So it means towers. Tirith means towers, okay? I'll save you the research, or you can just check it out yourself. If you don't, I recommend just check it out yourself anyways. Minas. Let's check out what Minas means. Minas. So Minas is the same root as Minos. Some of you might remember King Minos. He's the king in some of the myths and legends who created, I think he created, the Minotaur. Tor, tower, Tor, Tyr, right? The Minotaur. Minos often is interpreted as the Cretan word for king, but that's not it, is it, right? Why? Let's check it out. Minos. Hold on, Okay, so check this out. I'm going to tell you what it means without showing you on the screen. The root of Minos is min, M-in, right? The os at the end is the same as Oz. It means strength. It means strong. It means powerful, right? Min, let's see, min. Damn, I thought I had it on the computer screen. Hold on, I'm going to look it up right now. Let's check it out. We're going to do some on the fly together. I'm going to etymonline.com. It's the root of the word moon as well. So I'm just going to type in moon. It comes from M-E, which means to measure. Mensis. Oh, to think as well. All right. Well, I'm sorry about that. I thought I had it all pulled up and ready. So let's just move on. Let's see. He will not risk the peoples of Middle-earth uniting. Sauron, the bad energy in our world today, will not risk all of you uniting, working together, right? Under one banner. Sauron fears this. This guy's not too sure about this. This little Skyrim king right here, this little Earl or whatever he is, he's not too sure. He's like, He's the one that was being spoken to, and he was under that spell, remember? Before Sauron, fopap, hit him in the head with the stick, and he's like, reversed aged him and everything. Sauron fears the people of the world reuniting. He will raise Minas Tirith to the ground. Man, I'm going to have to look up Minas again. I had it locked in my brain, but now it's disappearing. All right, anyways. Oh, Amanda, thank you. Amanda, hey, she's my channel sponsor. Yay, shout out to Amanda. All right, so we go back to Aragorn. I'm sorry. So Gandalf is still talking. He will raise Minas Tirith to the ground before he sees a king return to the throne of men. Then they show you Aragorn. Aragorn symbolically represents Adam. Okay, he represents the human class of survivors that go to the middle of the earth. They camp out, they survive there, they stay there. It's a place of safety after the apocalypse. And that's what he represents there. He also was a strider. He was somebody who was a ranger, somebody who was not a king, somebody who was not in control, somebody who was not in power in the world, but was sort of a wanderer, sort of a drifter. And those wanderers and drifters inherit the world, or the meek inherit the earth. If the beacons of Gondor are lit, Rohan must be ready for war. The beacons of Gondor need to be lit. Basically, that's these pyres, these funeral pyre looking things, these fires that they light to signal each other that they need to come together in order to prevent the apocalypse, or to survive the apocalypse, I'll say, or in the movie to ride out to war to protect one another. Either way, these fires that are lit, these lights that are lit, are symbolic of all of our lights being lit. I'll show you whenever they light them. Now this guy is kind of acting douchey, and he's like, I don't know. Why should we ride to the aid of those who did not come to ours, right? Gandalf looks at him like, you serious? Bro, are you serious? Like, and then also Aragorn. Really? Seriously? Right? And then he comes over and talks to Aragorn. He says, you must come to Minas Tirith by another road. Now, Minas Tirith represents the place of safety that I was referring to in our world. And he's talking to us. You must go by another road. Why? Because there are people that don't want us traveling up to the North Pole, going to Antarctica, exploring various regions in our world. They want you stuck in your little city, on your little block, right? Driving your little car to work and coming back and stuff. They don't want you exploring the world at large, because then you'll start uncovering stuff and you'll start seeing bigger pictures. And then they'll lose their power over you. Follow the river. Follow the river. I can't tell you how many movies I've seen where they say to follow the river, and usually to follow the river north to like go to the place of safety, right? Which reminded me of the Jungle Cruise. We broke this movie down as well. And it says in the Jungle Cruise, together they search for an ancient tree that holds the power to heal. Same exact concept. Many of these movies they're just telling the same story over and over and over, but from different locations, different perspectives, different times, etc. Right? All right. Now, Merry comes up to Pippin, and he's like, "Don't you understand? The enemy thinks that you have the ring. He's going to be looking for you, Pip, right? Whenever those of us come to certain knowledge, many times they send their goons, right? They come looking to try to make sure that you don't affect too many people on the timeline. They don't want too many people waking up." Now, Aragorn's real girlfriend, the elf girlfriend, Arwen, she's walking through and she's going to this blade that was broken. It's the blade that they used to cut off the fingers of Sauron at the beginning, to detach the ring of power from him. That blade, that sword, was broken and shattered into pieces. There are different shards, as they're referred to, that have broken off. So Arwen says, "From the ashes a fire shall be woken." So, from the ashes, that which was burned down, a fire shall arise. A flame, plasma, shall arise, right? A light from the shadow shall spring. The shadow is the blackness, the darkness, Mount Meru, etc., the magnetic mountain, the black mountain, the dark mountain. A light from the shadow shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. That's the blade that was broken is the sword that triumphantly kills the Hydra that comes down from the sky in the form of red plasma. And every other apocalyptic cycle, it's already up. So that Hydra comes in, and then the sword retracts as the energy goes down into back into our inner recesses of the earth, right? So it's seen as being broken. The blade is broken, and the dragon wins that time, basically, right? They go back and forth. The crownless again shall be king. The crownless are you. and me. We are the crownless. We are the poor people of the earth. We are the meek. We are the ones who are not in charge, right? We're the slaves of the earth. But the time will come, the year of Jubilee will spring forth when the slaves are set free. And you will be king in your own right, or priest in your own right. All right, so that's the blade symbolically as the blue beam that was broken, and it's going to reemerge. So she goes to her father, right, Agent Smith, and she's like, reforge the sword, right? They need that blue beam to come back into the world, to bring goodness and wisdom and spirit and energy back to this world, to fill it up once more so it can be fantastic again. So she says to her dad, reforge the sword, who is the leader of the elven race, or one of the leaders. And that tells me symbolically that these people represent like the Illuminati, basically. I believe that there's two different sides of the Illuminati. There are the good ones and the bad ones, just like everything, right? He sort of represents the good ones. He doesn't want to meddle with humankind too much, you know. He's on his way to leave. All the elves are getting ready to leave. The elven people, they're all getting ready to leave. They keep on referring to it as the Age of Men. The Age of Men is coming. The age when humans will rule instead of the elves, or instead of whatever other beings there are, right? Where the world will be filled with hobbits or humans or whatever, right? The age of mankind. And anyways, my point is that because she's saying to reforge the sword, the movie is telling me that these entities, these beings, might be able to control apocalyptic events or influence them strongly. All right, so she says, reforge the sword. Boom, they start reforging the sword in their little elven forest. They're hammering away. Symbolically, they're getting ready for the blue beam. Now, this is Minas Tirith, right? Man, Minas. Jeez, that really bothers me. I can't remember. Waters of Life, I think. M-N. Anyways. Fudge. I have a total brain fart. I'm going to come back. I'll come back to that word in a future one. Anyways, take a look at it. It looks exactly to me like many depictions. It's called the City of Kings as well. But this is the Tower of Babel, right? This is often how the Tower of Babel from the Bible, right? They built this tower so they can reach the heavens and God and stuff. This is what it looks like. As you can see, there's sort of a split. Even in the art, when the artists draw their renditions of the Tower of Babel, because obviously not, there's no one that I know of that has actually seen the physical Tower of Babel or whatnot. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but look at it. Look at the comparison between the two. It's uncanny. Look at Minas Tirith. It even has a split right down the middle. It's circular. So is the Tower of Babel. Split down the middle, white, circular. It's damn near the exact same thing, right? Let me give you a quick little theory on that, okay? It might be that the reason that there is an ultimate war at the middle of our world, all right, not in these other locations that I think people have sort of gotten off track with, okay, because they think that their land is the middle of the world wherever they are. Like America, we think we're the middle of the earth, and in Israel, they think they're the middle of the world or whatever, or the most important part of it, but it's not. It may be that whenever that plasma beam shoots up and the people go to the middle for safety, they follow the light. The wise people of the world follow the light. It might be that they stay there and they want to occupy that region. Some people may want to occupy it, meaning to guard it away from others, because it's the fountain of youth. It's the sword that defeats the dragon. It's the ultimate weapon, essentially. We'll talk about the ultimate weapon again. So he goes up to the very top of this Tower of Babel looking thing. And at the very top, you can see the entrance is guarded by these two figures, one on the left, one on the right. This is symbolically your columns or your pillars of Hercules, etc. There's the tree in the middle. Now, this is a top-down view. This is symbolically showing you that, yes, it is indeed a reference to the center of the world, to the middle, where the North Pole, on the old maps, were the four lands that were divided by four rivers once were. As you can see, there's the four lands. Right in the middle, just to solidify it, is a fountain springing up out of the middle of this little four. And then there's four lands divided by a road down here for even more symbolic backing. There's the white tree. Boom. Let's see. So let's talk about this white tree. Let's get a little background on it real quick. Why is this white tree important? Where did it come from? Ah, man, sorry about that. Let's see if I could. It was fashioned, the white tree, it was fashioned in the image of Telperion, the elder of the two trees of Valinor. So, a long time ago, right, in the Lord of the Rings mythology, we'll say, there were these two lights that lit up the whole world, right? And they were like these two sky beams, basically, in my opinion. And those lights were destroyed. They were replaced by these two trees of light that grew up out of the ground. And then those were destroyed, and then they were replaced by, it's the same thing, right? It's the same lights, the sky beams, the trees being replaced over and over and over again. Now, Telperion was the original one. Let's check these out real quick. These are the trees of Valinor. It says the first light sources for all of Arda were two enormous lamps, Iluin, the silver one of the north, and Ormal, the golden one to the south. These were cast down and destroyed by Melkor, ancient evil bad guy. Afterward, the Valar, they're basically the ancestors of like the elven race and stuff, I believe, went to Valinor, and Yavanna sang into existence the two trees, the silver Telperion and the golden Laurelin. Telperion was considered male and Laurelin female. The trees sat on the hill. They're always going to be on a hill because they are light that comes up out of the earth itself. And whenever you have that much energy shooting up out of the world, the earth conforms to the energy itself, creating sort of a cone-shaped volcano mountain. They grew in the presence of the Valar, watered by the tears of Nienna. I believe that in reference to the tears, actually, I'll just read a little bit more here. I want to read this part. Each tree was a source of light, right? Telperion's silver and Laurelin's gold. Telperion had dark leaves, and his silvery dew was collected as a source of water and light. I believe that this is in reference, the dew, the honey symbolism, the sacred honey from the sacred bees, etc., the dew from the tree of life, right? This is a byproduct of that extreme plasmic discharge, and it's got wonderful properties if you were to eat it, basically. So it was highly sought after. All right, moving forward, they say, yes, the white tree of Gondor. Let me check the chat, make sure I'm still... Why? I should always have the chat up. Can you imagine if I just my mic was muted or something? And that would be terrible. All right, the white tree of Gondor. Remember, Gan means garden. Gan. And then Dor means generation. So the generational garden. All right, so Gandalf goes into the main castle area at the top of this building where the steward lives, not the king. They don't have a king, right? They have a steward, somebody who's just sort of pretending to be the king, right? But he's not really the king. We have that in our world today. We have many stewards over the land. Basically, they're like the top slaves to the powers that be. And he says, I have come with tidings in this dark hour. And he's he's putting up a front because he really knows that there's not a lot of good news, but he's pretending like there is. And with counsel. Interesting. Now the steward looks up. He's holding onto this horn, and the horn is broken. And he says, perhaps you've come to explain this. Now, this is more reading the signs and the omens, right? This is teaching you, if you pay attention, how to do it. A horn symbolically represents an offshoot or a branch, or like somebody's child, basically. And when that horn is broken, it indicates that the child has died, or that line, the family lineage, has been broken. A branch from the tree has been broken. The horn that shoots out from the main body is broken off, right? So he breaks it in half. He's pissed. This dude is not a good dude. Okay, we're going to find out more about him as we go along, but he's not a good dude. He is the steward, and he's become so enamored with power and being the fake king of this place that he just wants to be the king. He doesn't want the real king to show up. He doesn't really want the people to be free. He doesn't really want the people to be happy. He just likes control. And he says, perhaps you've come to tell me why my son is dead, right? So he read the signs and the omens. This is typical, right? Not everyone these days can do stuff like this, but I believe in the world to come, many people will be able to read the signs and omens just as easily as they communicate with each other through words. So this guy's full of bad, evil energy. And to me, he looks like Vigo, the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2. He totally carries the Vigo vibe, right? Doesn't he? He kind of has I thought that was the same actor. It's not the same actor, but wow. Look at this dude, right? Look at him. Boom. He's totally just charged up with that bad plasma. His son, who he believes died, is Boromir. This is the guy, this is the one does not simply guy. Remember him, right? He had a bad attitude, so he died, right? He was shot by truth. Truth symbolically is represented by arrows. Why? Because that blue life-giving beams, those blue beams, I just call them blue. Okay, they might be a totally different color. I don't know. But my research indicates they're probably bluish, greenish, bluish, whatever, something along those spectrum. My point is that the truth is symbolically represented by arrows many times because it is seen as the arrows that come up out of the earth. The beams, the arrows, the stalks, the poles, and they're worshipped quite often as gods and stuff like that. But that's the truth. That is the life-giving, positive energy filling this world. When we go through these apocalyptic events, usually our world gets to a maximum negativity before it pops and releases, and the world is filled or refilled with goodness. At least that's what I like to believe. Excuse me. Golem. I gotta stop that. It's terrible. All right, so he looks up and he says, "Send word to Theoden of Rohan. Light the beacons." He says, light the beacons. We need to come together, man. This is the end of the world is nigh. The end is near. This guy says, "You think you are wise, Mithrandir?" Now, wait a minute. Mithrandir? I thought his name was Gandalf. Ah, he's got another name. Gandalf is like thousands of years old. Okay, he's super old. He's not like a human. He's a totally different class of being. That's kind of like a demigod, basically, in The Lord of the Rings, in human form. Send words at Theoden, light the beacons, right? That means bring the humans together. Unite us. Boom. And he says, "You think you're wise? You're trying to take away my city? You're trying to take away my power? Mithrandir?" Well, let's see what Mithrandir means. Mithrandir comes from the word Mitra, right? Also spelled Mithras, right? Basically in the old world, in like Iran, Iraq, the Middle East, some of those areas, Babylon and stuff, Mithra was known as the god of light, which is what Gandalf represents. Gandalf represents the Jesus figures, the Krishnas, the Mithras of the world. He is the god of light. He's the staff god. He's the rod god. He's the god of power. Actually, it might not even be Gandalf. It just might be the staff. Gandalf might just be the personification of the beam itself, which is why, or maybe why, so many of the ancient gods and savior figures carry with them magic wands and staves and stuff, right? Walking sticks and stuff. You think you're wise? You're trying to take it all away from me? So Mithra, interesting. I'll just give you a little tidbit here about Mithra. Mithra, in comparison to those Jesus types, was born of a virgin, born on December 25th, had 12 disciples, performed miracles, was dead for 3 days, was resurrected, and is recognized through being worshipped on a Sunday, or the day of the sun. Now, some people think this is reference to the actual sun up in the sky. I could see that. I could see how people would get there, but I also feel like it's more of the beam of light, or the sky beams. All right, then he goes on and says, "With your right hand you would seek to supplant me." Remember the supplanter? In Hebrew, supplanter is Yaakov, or Jacob, or Jake, right? We get it like Jake from State Farm, basically, is a supplanter. Jake or Jacob or Yaakov, all of these names mean to supplant, right? To trade out, to replace. So this guy who's only interested in power will be replaced one day by the striders of the world, the rangers of the world, the lost tribes of the world. Those of us who are not in power will reclaim what is rightfully ours once again. And by rightfully, I mean we resonate with that vibration of the world. We don't resonate with the vibration of the world as it is today, so we're not in charge today, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. When the world vibration changes and becomes filled with goodness and purity and returns to the golden age, those of us who have the golden age in our hearts will return to power, or return to being free once more. And then he's like, "I know who rides with Theoden of Rohan." This guy right here is like, I know that the future king is on his way. I know you're trying to make this dude Strider the king, okay? I know you're trying to replace me, okay? Or maybe it's because his name is Viggo, right? Viggo Mortensen is actually Strider, and his name is Viggo, just like Just like Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2. Anyways, that's just a little joke. I will not bow to this ranger from the north. There's the north reference once more. Last of a ragged house, long bereft of lordship. That means we are the last of a house or a family lineage, okay? That is bereft of lordship. That means that we lost being in charge. We gave up our rights to be rulers of the land. We just gave it up. We literally gave it to somebody else and said, here, you do it. Authority is not given to you to deny the return of the king, steward. Like, you should see Gandalf. He musters up so much disgust when he says the word steward. He takes this dude who thinks he's like in control, puts him way down there. He's like, authority is not given to you to deny the return of the king, steward. Right? He's like, buddy, you're temporarily in charge here. Let's get to the real point of the matter. The rule of Gondor is mine and no others. See, that's the selfishness kicking in. And then they show you this shot. You see all the black and white symbolism, right? Between the white, the purity, the black, the dark, the black and white symbolism between like the checkerboard floor and stuff like that. You'll see that a lot. So we go back and Gandalf is talking about this guy. And he says, Sauron has yet to reveal his deadliest servant. This guy. Now, who does he look like, right? I mean, just off the top of the head, he looks like the Grim Reaper, right? Because he is, okay? In the Bible, and in many other religious books, the Bible is sort of one of my areas of expertise, but in many ancient religious books, they talk about these spirits, these black dark spirits, these smokeless fires, these jinns, these whatever, angels of the Lord that would fly about and that they would kill people. Interesting. Certain people, I should say. The one who will lead Mordor's armies into war. Basically, it's the third horseman of the apocalypse is the black horse, or the rider on the black horse is famine. So to be hungry, people are starving, right? Symbolically and spiritually speaking, they're not talking about food. They're not talking about not being able to eat. There is the physical aspect of that, but then also we are starving for spiritual food in the world that we live in today. The one they say no living man can kill. So no living man can kill this, whoever this is right here. And he puts on his little helmet or whatever, and it's got these crowns sticking out of it, sort of like how the Anunnaki once had their crowns that signified their rank. The Witch King of Angmar. Now we go back to Frodo, Gollum, and Sam, who arrive at this, like, the land of Oz, basically. They're at what they call the Dead City. This Dead City is all green. There's all this green energy. Remember, the green represents the Aurora Borealis. It tells you where they are. They're at the North Pole. They're in the region of the North Pole, I should say, right? They're coming upon their destination. They're getting closer to Mordor, the plasma volcano. And he says, come away, look, we have found it. I don't know if you can see right there, but that's the stairs that go up, boom, right there. That's the stairway to heaven. The way into Mordor. Now, also, aside from just symbolically representing Jacob's ladder and whatnot, right? Remember how I was talking about those who do make the trip, right? When you're able to the North Pole, to the land of safety, to Hyperborea, to the Garden of Eden, whatever you would like to call it or refer to it as. If your intention is to go and find safety within the earth itself, or within the plasma volcano, or within the cave of saviors or whatnot, it's a high and lofty cliff. It's a cliff, okay? It's not going to be easy. It's way up high. So you'll see this cliff symbolism in the movies quite often whenever the characters are on this deep spiritual sort of journey or whatever. The secret stair. Now, there might be secret stairs. There might be people over time who have carved stairs up into this Rupus Negra. The secret stair. At the top of the stairs, you've got Inigo Montoya waiting, right? Along with the giant. The giant at the top of the stairs. All right, little joke. All right, back to Sam and Frodo. The Witch King pops up out of the area. He senses that there's somebody that has the ring nearby, and he starts screeching That's because this is not a human. I know in the movie they say that it's sort of like this human that just lives forever and he's just real evil, but it's not symbolically a human whatsoever. It's plasma, okay? It's the plasma that is the angel of the Lord or the angel of death, etc. And the reason it screeches, just like how I've broken down the word banshee before, and we've talked about banshees, how they may actually just be electromagnetic phenomena that rushes past and crackles and makes these sounds in the air that sounds like people crying or screaming, etc. And in reality, it's just electromagnetic phenomena. So he jumps up onto his dragon. Symbolically, the dragons, right? I'm not saying that dragons aren't real or anything, but I am saying that they are also, there's a symbolic element. Dragons didn't used to have wings when they were originally drawn. They did not have feet. They did not have legs. They did not have arms. They were worms. They were plasma, basically, when they're first drawn. So this guy is riding on top of the plasma. And then, boom, we've got a beam of light. A sky beam shoots up into the sky from the middle of this little green city, up into the clouds. It's seen by everybody. Everyone can see this light. It signifies something special is going on. The wizard sees it. He knows something's going on. So he sends the little hobbit to go light the fires. He wants all these fires to be lit. So he lights the fires. They're not supposed to, but he does it anyway. Remember, the other king, he doesn't want to lose his power. He does not want the people coming together, because if the people come together, the people who are the stewards of this land no longer, they won't be needed. They won't be needed anymore, right? They won't be wanted. They won't be needed. So he sends the hobbit, the little hobbit guy, to go light the fires anyway. So he lights the fires. He looks off into the distance. He can see, okay, cool. They saw our fire because they lit their fire. And then he says, hope is kindled. When those fires around the world are ignited, you are one of them, okay? I believe. I believe I'm one. I believe you're one. I believe that there's many of us spread out through the world. And then we look across the great distances and we see other fires are being lit. And this is a sign to us to read the omens that the world sings to us, that the fires around the world are lighting. And it's a sign that we're coming together. It's a sign that the end is also on the way, or the renewal, I guess. I guess calling it the renewal is a lot better than calling it the end, isn't it? So these fires are being lit. How do I know this is symbolic? Because this is not practical, okay? Look at the clear skies, right? What if it was snowing, raining, anything like blocking the view? This would not really be a good idea, right? It's not guaranteed this would work. And this is for extreme emergencies. So it's clearly symbolic on a deeper level. So we got all these fires being lit. And then finally, the last fire that's lit is seen by Aragorn, right? The future, aka Strider. Strider looks up and he knows when these fires are lit, that means like, you know, the king is destined to return and he is going to be that king. So he gets all excited and takes off to go tell everyone, the fires are lit, the fires are lit. I feel like when he's running up these stairs, he's singing like from The Lion King, I just can't wait to be king. That's just me. All right. So all the armies, they're on their way to Minas Tirith, right? To the Tower of Babel, symbolically speaking, to the middle of the world, and they're attacked by dragons. Everyone's on their way there. Gandalf, the white, meets up with them. Mithrandir, the god of light, appropriately shines light and shoots a beam of light up into the sky at the sky dragons, giving you the light coming up out of the earth or from the earth, shooting into the sky, defeating the dragons or the plasma above. Then we go over to, meanwhile, they're still climbing the cliff, right? They're still going up. Frodo, Sam, they're being led by the little Gollum guy. They're going up the cliffs. And then Gollum whispers into Frodo's ear. Gollum wants the ring. He really doesn't want to lead them. He has to, but ultimately he wants power. He wants the ring. And he says, the fat one will take it from you. So what he does, and this is what happens in our world today. So be very careful, right? When those fires are lit, when all the truth seekers start to just suddenly seem to have knowledge coming out of nowhere, and we are becoming more enlightened, we're dreaming, we're being prophetic, or prophecies are given to us or received by us, etc. There are those who have bad energy still inside of them, and what they want is to divide us. Right? They want us on their team. They want us on their side. and they try to divide us by whispering into our ear that the other ones are going to take away whatever fame that we get from these unique things that are happening to us, right? Whatever abilities people are granted or inherit or are given during these last times, people start basically saying like, they're going to take away, you discovered this, you figured this out, and they want it, and they're going to take it from you. So, you'll see this at first. For example, on YouTube, there's a lot of truther channels and stuff that pop up and that are popping up, which I think is awesome. But at first, they all start fighting, right? Because Golem whispers into every one of their ears and says, someone else is going to beat you to it. Someone else is taking credit. Someone else is this and that. They're trying to get it. And those of us who are like Frodo, like we're like, man, should I listen to that? Because they're trying to appeal to your old nature. So be careful. All right. Here is Minas Tirith, aka the Tower of Babel. Let me zoom in on that for you. Boom, boom, boom. There it is. And it's directly underneath this mountain that sort of has like a volcano look to it. I don't know if you could see the top there. Boom, there's the top. I don't know if that's a volcano or not, but there's a lot of volcano shape imagery in here. Golem waits until the other two are sleeping. Once again, be careful. Don't fall asleep, right? Be on your guard. Be awake. Be sober. Be vigilant. Like, be full of energy. Amplify that spirit, but work on the good side of everything, right? So they fall asleep, and while they're sleeping, while they're not looking, he goes through their bag. He takes out their food, which is called limbus bread. Limbus. Lembas. Limbus bread. Takes out the limbus bread, goes through it. Sam's passed out, so he sprinkles some crumbs, and then he takes the limbus bread and tosses it. Gets rid of their food, right? Now, before I get into that, I want to explain symbolically what this means, okay? The bread that was taken out, that they're using to take with them. This is all they have on their journey now. They've run out of everything else. All that they have for sustenance is this bread. Symbolically speaking, it is the bread of life. It is the truth, I will say, okay? It is what gives them the nutrients, the nourishment, the energy to press on. That's what we need to keep with us. Keep a steady ration of truth, right? So this guy goes in, he takes some of the bread and he gets rid of it to sort of make them run out of gas, right? And to divide them amongst each other. Limb is just like lamb, right? The lamb is like the Lamb of God, Jesus, the Word of God, etc. And then us just means strength, like I've said before. Lembas, strong lamb. It's symbolic of the word or the truth or the light, etc. And he tries to get rid of it. And then Sam wakes up. He says, sneaking off, are we? And he goes, sneaking? Now, time out. Wait a minute. Time out right here. This is many of us, okay? Sam represents all of your zeal, all of your passion, all of your thirst for truth and everything that is righteous and pure and good in the world. And when that side of you sees the evil in the world, it becomes inflamed and enraged, and it's like, hey, what are you doing? And it goes, I caught you. You're doing something bad. Now, you got to be careful. In this world right now that we're in, it's upside down. Everything's backwards, right? If you catch someone actually doing something that is immoral or bad or unjust, and they themselves are immoral, they are bad, and they are unjust, then this is their reaction, I have found, in my experience so far, right? He goes, sneaking off, are we? Sneaking? Fat Hobbit is always so polite, right? You see that? You see how it's like very sarcastic? Sarcasm is like a second language to many people these days. It breaks my heart, honestly. I've never enjoyed sarcasm, and a lot of people push that sarcasm is supposed to be accepted by all, and it's supposed to be like, oh, if you don't like my sarcasm, then you're not as tough as I am. You can't handle it. You need to toughen up or whatever. That's not, I'm just going to share my perspective. Sarcasm's bad, okay? Sarcasm is not a good thing, okay? And so this guy, this hobbit right here, who's all deformed and messed up because of what is happening inside of him, says, Fat Hobbit is always so polite, right? He's saying that he's not polite, basically. What's not polite? telling the truth and saying, hey, I totally just caught you doing something you're not supposed to. Oh, what happened to your good vibes? What happened to, being a good person? What happened to, being peaceful and this and that? That's what they try to do. These accusers, right? They do that. And that is not good. I don't like that. Ooh, that gets the Sam and me going, man. That gets me upset, man. He says, Fat Hobbit is always so polite. Smeagol shows them secret ways nobody else can find. And they say, sneak. Sneak? He's like, all right, man. Come on. You just startled me, that's all. They appeal to the mercy within us. And quite often they get away with it. I'm going to be honest. He says, by the way, what were you doing anyways? Sneaking. See, now this is called pseudo or false sarcasm. He's pretending like he's being sarcastic, but he's really, it's a veiled truth because he was sneaking, right? So now he's trying even harder to make Sam feel bad when he shouldn't. Sam was right. He was sneaking around. And now he's finally being honest, but Sam interprets it the wrong way, which is now he's being sarcastic when he's really not. The elven bread. Oh no. Right? Elven just means like of the gods, basically. The word, the elven bread, etc. Smeagol hates nasty elf bread. And then he's like, he can't have taken it. He doesn't eat it. And then he goes, oh, what's this? He totally set him up. He put those crumbs on him, right? And he's like, he took it. Look how excited he looks. He's smiling, right? He loves this. He's basking in this little setup operation that he has going on. And unfortunately, Frodo is just, he's out. He's like running on empty. He's running on fumes, man. He doesn't know who to believe anymore. He doesn't know what's upside down, what's right side up. He just knows that he's got to keep going. That's all he knows. And so Sam's like, dude, I'm sorry. I was just so angry. He's poisoned you against me. Frodo looks him dead in his eyes and he says, you can't help me anymore. Right? He cuts him off. Now remember, Sam is kind of like his conscience, right? Some of us may come to this point. Some of us may be tempted to say, you know what? The world is messed up. The world's bad. I'm still going to keep on this journey, but I'm tired of being a nice person. I'm tired of being kind. I'm tired of all this. I don't get anything for it. I get stepped on. I get messed with. I get beat up. I get insulted, humiliated, made fun of, right? And so you try to toughen up. And that's what Sam does. He tries to toughen up and he tries to get rid of him. He says, go home. Sam's like, bro, go home? You want me to go all the way back down the cliffs of insanity, go past the freaking green shrieking witch guy, go all the way back through the fires and the swamp of dead people and stuff? Like, go home? Dude, that's not cool. Anyways, that's how I feel. All right, so we go back to Pippin. Pippin swore loyalty to this guy because his son died, so he felt bad for him. So he's watching this guy eat, right? He's just sitting off to the side watching this steward eat his food. They zoom in and the dude is literally just eating raw, bloody stuff. And he's just, nah. And then you go back to Pippin. He's like, yeah, that's gross. Right? It kind of made me feel the same way too. They show you more volcano symbolism imagery there. Now we finally catch up with Gimli and Legolas. No idea where they just came from. I'm just going to be honest. Okay. Even as I was watching the movie, I was trying to remember and figure it out, but the movie is so long. All of these movies. I forgot how long these movies are, which is why we're doing this on a Friday instead of a Thursday, because I needed an entire extra day to do all these screenshots and stuff for all of you. All right, so Gimli and Legolas return. They're all camped out under this little mountain here. They're on their way to Minas Tirith, a.k.a. the Tower of Babylon, or the Tower of Babel. Now, this guy comes up and he says, they grow nervous in the shadow of the mountain. And then they look. There's a split in the mountain, right? We talked about the symbolism of the split mountain in a couple of different videos. Gimli says, that road there, where does that lead? So there's a road, there's a passage in this magical mountain, in this special mountain that is flanked, by the way, by one pillar and another pillar right there, in case you didn't catch that. And then there's a passageway in the middle. You go between the pillars, you enter into the passage. The mountain itself is cleft. It is torn in half, or it has an opening, right? This is the opening. And he says, where does that lead? It is the road to the dim Holt. Dim meaning dark. Holt meaning a safe haven, right? The dark safe haven. The door under the mountain. Interesting. So let's check out the word holt real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Holt means the den of an animal, especially that of an otter, a grip or a hold. Basically, it means a safe haven, in short. Also, I just want to remind you of the legend of Hoddmimis Holt. In Norse mythology, Hoddmimis Holt, or Mimir's Hoard, Mimir's Holt, is a location where Leif and Leifbasir are foretold to survive the long winters of Fimbulvetr. It's a safe haven. It's a safe place, right? Now it says here, Hoddmimis Holt should not be understood literally as a wood or even a forest in which the two survivors keep themselves hidden, like Adam and Eve. But rather, it is an alternative name for the world tree Yggdrasil. Thus, the creation of mankind from a tree or tree trunk is repeated after Ragnarok as well. That we are born from trees, that we come from trees, that somehow we have this relationship with trees or tree symbolism and imagery, right? The trees themselves grow to match that of the plasma or spirit. None who venture there ever return, like we talked about, right? No survivors, right? Then where do the stories come from, I wonder? I can't do Jack Sparrow, right? There's no survivors. No one ever comes back. If no one ever comes back, then how do we know about it? Right? Basically. So that might not be 100% true. That mountain is evil. No, that mountain is misunderstood, not evil. Now here's the crack in the mountain. I'll just show you there. Boom. They pan down. You can see the crack. They go into it. There's a deep rumbling. Strider's like, whoa, bro, what did I just see? Oh, snap. If you look close, can you see that there in the middle? There's a dude right there. There is a ghost in the mountain. There are spirits in the mountain. And by spirits, I mean pools of energy, electromagnetic influx within the mountain itself, inside of the earth as well. There should be, because our earth is energetic and electromagnetic in nature. All right, so here's a little hobbit. I took this picture so you can get a comparison. He's standing all the way up. This dude's sitting down. He's a human. This is like us, and these humans, when we watch this movie, we're like the hobbits right now, and then these are like the children in the future. A long time in the future, they grow and grow and grow and grow, and they become gigantic, right? So he says, to the smithy, go. And you can see the hobbit takes off. And she's like, hey, don't make fun of him for being small, right? He says, I do not doubt his heart, only the reach of his arm. And they start joking around. To me, when they do this, this is like giants, right? This is like where real giants would act. This is, I mean, we tend to see them differently because we are tinier than they are or whatever, but they're just regular people, just like we are. And look how gigantic they are, right? They sort of chuckle, ha, 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 ha. Oh, we're gigantic and we can fight better or whatever. That's sort of the mentality that comes along with being gigantic, I guess. Now, he says, your girlfriend's dying. He's talking to Strider. This is the elf, the leader of the elves, right? Arwen is dying. Arwen. Now, check this out. I like this name Arwen, so I did this little study on it. Arwen is related directly to a Hindu god named Arjuna. Arjuna, Aruna, Arwen, same exact name, trust me. Well, you don't have to trust me. I gotta stop saying trust me. Anyways, the same exact name. Now, check this out. I'm gonna read this to you. Arjuna basically was given this special weapon. Where is it? Arjuna possessed the knowledge to invoke this cosmic weapon. I put the word cosmic in there. The weapon can be invoked into any object, even a blade of grass. Now check this part out. I want to read this. I want you guys to check this out. In the Mahabharata, it is explained that when this weapon is invoked, it blazes up with terrible flames within a huge sphere of fire. Numerous peals of thunder to be heard. Fissures start on the earth. That means the earth cracks open. Rivers become dry when this cosmic weapon is used. Thousands of meteors fall, and all living creatures became terrified with great dread. The entire sky seemed to be filled with noise and assumed a terrible aspect of flames of fire. The whole earth, with her mountains and waters and trees, trembled. When it strikes an area, it will be destroyed, and nothing will grow there, not even a blade of grass, for the next 50 Brahma years. This cosmic weapon that Arjuna, aka Arwen, holds onto is electromagnetic discharge from, the correlation of the sky and the earth together during these apocalyptic cycles. All right, so now he says the end has come. Boom! If you didn't think this movie is about the end of the world, or if it's an end of the world movie, now you know. They say the end has come, it's the apocalypse, it's the end of the world, etc. You're outnumbered, Aragorn. You need more men. He says there are none. There are those that dwell in the mountain. So now what he's talking about are the ghosts that live inside of the earth, or the energy inside of the earth. He needs the help of the energy, the earth energy itself, or the ghosts inside the earth, which they flash to real quick. And he says, you would call upon them to fight? They answer to no one. They will answer to the king of Gondor. Boom! I made your sword. You see that? He's like, I reforge the sword. Take the sword and use it on the ghosts. Or whatever. I don't know. I'm just in a good mood. He says, Anduril, the flame of the west, forged from the shards of Narsil. He's making a huge deal about this sword that he made, right? Because he didn't really want to make it. But he's like, hey, I did it. Check it out. Boom. Here's your sword, pal. He says, this is basically the beam. Okay. So the gods, the god race, the angels, whatever, they're helping out mankind. He's like a guardian angel, you could see him as, I guess, right? Gives him the sword. He says the blade that was broken shall return to Minas Tirith. That's talking about symbolically the earth energy. So he holds it up. Boom. This guy kind of looks like Jesus too, now that I think about it. Not that I know what Jesus looks like. I'm just talking about the typical Jesus. You know what I mean. You get it. So he says, the man who can wield the power of this sword can summon to him an army more deadly than any that walks the earth. Now, think about that. If the sword represents the beam that comes up out of the plasma volcano, and if the person or the people that live there on that mountain or in that area have set up camp and keep everyone else away from it, then they hold the sword, right? They are the ones who hold the power. They are the ones who guard and protect all of that energy from being used by those who would use it for other means or purposes, right? So they protect it. They fight it. There's a huge war for it in the middle of the earth. He says, now remember, they're talking to you. Us, the lost tribes, the drifters of the world for so long now. It's time to stop being drifters. It's time to remember our names. It's time to remember who we are and our purpose here. He says, put aside the ranger. Become who you were born to be. Take the Dimholt road. That means go to the plasma volcano. Go inside of it, right? All right, so remember the blonde girl that has a crush on Strider? She's like, why are you doing this? That's not cool. You're going to leave? You're going to go talk to the ghost people just because you got a sword? You cannot leave on the eve of battle, she says. Eowyn, he says. Her name is Eowyn. Remember, his elf girlfriend's name is Arwen. Ar, meaning or light or fire. Wyn. Her name is Eowyn. Well, what does Wyn mean? Let's check that out. Let's do a quick search. All right, this is the meaning of Aryun or Arwen. Officially, it means white, clear, or silver, given the connotation of light, essentially. Arwen, so his elf girlfriend, essentially means white. What does Wyn mean? The suffix, or the root word wyn, meaning fair, white, blessed, or holy. Wyn as a boy's name, if of Welsh origin, and the meaning of Wyn is fair, white, blessed, or holy. Just like those creatures, the Fantazoid type races that come into our world, the fallen ones, typically are described as being very white in nature. Not as a race, but as a sort of complexion, like albino looking, right? Anyways, so they decide to take the Dimholt road. They decide to go into the earth and go talk to these ghosts and ask the ghosts, can you please help us out? The ghosts represent the spirit, right? The green spirit, the good spirit, the spirit of goodness from the earth. We need the earth. We need Mother Nature to help us out in this war, in this battle, to change the hearts of people. All right, so they go into the little tunnel. This guy's like, what are you doing? Where's Aragorn going? He's supposed to be like the future king, dude. We totally had your back. Now you're just taking off and leaving everyone. We cannot defeat the armies of Mordor. Now, this guy's like, dude, Aragorn just left? Oh, this is hopeless, man. And he's talking to like the Skyrim king, right? The Skyrim king. Now check out this pep talk. Okay? Get ready for this pep talk. Are you ready? You're about to get pumped up. He goes, no, we cannot. And the guy's like, okay. But we will meet them in battle nonetheless. And they're like, right? I mean, like, they're not too impressed with this pep talk. I mean, this dude back here literally is sleeping standing up, right? So these guys are like, oh, we're never going to win. And the king dude is like, you're right. We're not. We're all going to die, but we shall still go. Not too invigorating. I'm not too charged by that pep talk. He does that throughout the movie, even when they're in the midst of battle. You'll see. All right, so they're going through. He says, long ago, the men of the mountains swore an oath to the last king of Gondor to come to his aid to fight. But when the time came, they fled, vanishing into the darkness of the mountain. This is like that earth energy, right? Retracting, going back down and going into the recesses and the hollows of the earth that we live in instead of coming out, right? When it comes out, you probably be like a lot like Ghostbusters 2, or any of the Ghostbusters, really, when there's just spirits all over the place. It's like a ghost apocalypse, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Not all ghosts are bad or evil. So Isildur cursed them. That was the old human king. He cursed the ghosts, never to rest until they had fulfilled their pledge. Their pledge was to help humanity, basically. So they go through, remember, they're inside of the mountain. Do you see trees? Why would there be trees inside of the earth unless there are trees inside of the earth, right? I personally think that the earth is filled with trees and life. The very warmth of my blood seems stolen away. Gimli's peeing. That's Dwarven for I'm peeing my pants right now. I'm super scared, which is really rare because he doesn't usually admit that. Now, he starts reading the elf reads the hieroglyphics on the door, and he says, the way is shut. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it. You see the eye? See the little dead guy down there? All right, so he says, I do not fear death. Boom, walks right in. He's like, let's do it. Let's be brave, right? There's a time to be careful and timid and meek and safe and stuff, but then there also comes a time to cast that away and to be brave and to march steadily forward into unknown territory. Just like this guy. So Hobbit, he's like, I want to fight. I want to fight. Look how tiny he is in comparison to the horses and stuff, right? They don't want him to fight. He's too tiny. He's too small. He's considered irrelevant, right? He's not part of their human group. But he's picked up and put on a horse by this girl. It's the same girl that has a crush on Strider, the blonde chick. And she says, ride with me. And she rides off and he's like, my lady, right? This is symbolic of the feminine energy returning to the world and helping and guiding us, okay? Because right now we live in a very masculine energy. So now they ride to Gondor, or the generational garden, the everlasting garden, however you want to say it. All the orcs get together. They put up their little towers to try to break the Tower of Babel down and to invade, to claim that area, to claim that mountain and that territory. We go deep inside the mountain where the ghosts live, and let's see how Aragorn's handling it. The dead do not suffer the living to pass. Aragorn's super confident. He's right, and he's like, "Oh, you will suffer me. Oh yeah, you will suffer me." So he busts out his sword. Right? He's like, and then the ghosts are basically threatening to kill him and stuff. And he's like, we made the pass. It was made by those who are dead. He says the way is shut. They repeat this, which means it's important, so we should break it down. The way is shut. What way? The way into the earth. There are passages that lead into the earth. You could look at the earth as being like an egg, right? Eggs are designed to house and keep safe and develop life on the inside. We would be like living on the shell, right? So quite oftentimes people make journeys and go on quests to go into the home, into the place where you're supposed to be, basically on the inside of the earth. And he says that the way is shut. You can't go. Okay, you can't go inside of the earth. They're trying to get into Hod Mimi's Holt, the Garden of Eden, paradise, etc. He says the way is shut. It was made by those who are dead. Those who are dead are called spirits. Spirits are electromagnetic energy. Electromagnetic energy acts as barriers when it's powerful enough. And the dead keep it. But when our world goes into flux and there is a polarity shift, the dead will spring forth and those barriers will come down for a time. All right, anyways, those ghosts surround him and they're basically trying to be intimidating. And he says, I summon you to fulfill your oath. He says, none but the king of Gondor may command me. And then he busts out his sword. Little one-eye symbolism there as well. He's like, I've got the sword. I am the king of Gondor, right? That's whenever he has to accept who he is. That's whenever we have to accept I forgot the word for it, but we need to accept our like divine right to rule the world. I mean, not rule the world, but our divine right to live freely, I should say. I'm sorry, that the rule of the world thing is that's the old energy. We have to accept our place here, right? As wanderers, as those who are lost. So anyways, he accepts who he is. He finds his purpose. He finds his name, and he finds his title being the king. And king doesn't mean that there's only one, okay? You can all be kings. You can all be queens or whatever in your own right, and you should be. So, boom. His sword actually works against the spirits, and he says, fight for us. Fight for me, and I will hold your oaths fulfilled. Meanwhile, the battle rages on. The Tower of Babel is coming down quickly. All the orcs are destroying the Tower of Babel as they're fighting for the territory. The steward is losing his ever-living mind, right? Vigo the Carpathian. Excuse me. Gollum. Jesus. That's honestly worrying me that I cough so much. But it's because I'm talking so much. He goes, abandon your posts. Flee for your lives. So that, remember, this guy's filled with selfish energy. He represents the stewards of the world today. And he doesn't want people protecting themselves. He would rather everyone die and everyone perish than to bring everyone together. So, pow, boom. He gets hit upside the head with this staff by guess who? Gandalf. And Gandalf's like, the hell did you just say? There's like millions of orcs surrounding the city. So he takes the staff and gives him a little extra boom, boot to the head. He says, prepare for battle. Screw that. Don't listen to the steward. Send out these foul beasts back to the abyss. And they show you Babylon or the Tower of Babel or whatever from above. See how there's a split there in the middle too? All right. Meanwhile, we go back to Frodo, who just told Sam to kick rocks and gets rid of his conscience, or tries to, right? And the second he does that, he comes to this cave where it's very dark. There's cobwebs or spider webs or whatever all over the place. He gets stuck. He's crying. He's losing his way. Well, what did you expect, Sam? You need your conscience. You need to have the angel on your shoulder on this trip. Don't get rid of that. Don't give in and think that you need to have a heart of stone. Just because that's how the rest of the world is. You know what I mean? All right. Anyways, so he's laying there crying, and then he remembers, oh yeah, that's right. Strider's girlfriend's elf witch lady gave me this potion of light or whatever. May it be a light for you in dark places. So, boom. Alohomora or whatever he says. I don't know. And he casts this little light spell. Boom. The light turns on, and look behind him over his shoulder. He hears something. Looks up, and God, I hate this part of the movie because I don't like bugs. But there's a giant spider, and he holds up the light. Now, the spider symbolically is the plasma grandmother spider, the spider god, Spider-Man, whatever you want to call it, the spider webs that string about in the sky as plasma, and there's the light, the bluish white beam of light that keeps that plasma at bay. So you've got that again. He holds it up, which I would too. God, man. I don't even like spiders. It's even worse that it's a spider for me. But anyways, the spider comes and attacks him. He gets totally stuck. He's stuck in this web, right? By the way, this is also spiritual and energetic symbolism. Okay, there are spells that have been cast that I refer to as web form spells. Web form spells are cast, and they're called web form because they act as a net. They are barriers in the mind of individuals, and they are amplified collectively by people. Remember how on Men in Black, Will Smith's talking to the other agent or whatever, and he's like, why don't you just tell people? People are smart. And he goes, no, a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, and you know it, right? Anyways, these web form spells are kind of like, you could look at them like laws, rules, guidelines, expectations in our world. They're not real. They're not physical. They're nothing. They're just spells that have been cast out, words that have been said, that have gone into us and that have been planted deep in our minds. And they act as actual physical barriers and walls to keep us from progressing. Be careful of those web form spells. And then Smeagol's right there. He wants him to get caught. He wants him to get stuck, right? That's what the bad guys want for you on your truth-seeking journey, is to stay in one spot. Stop making progress. Whatever you do, they don't care how you do it. Stop making progress. Stop moving forward. That's what they want. So he's stuck in that web. This part grosses me out. Oh my God. We're going to skip through a little bit. That gives me shivers. Like, you must believe us, he says, because he's about to choke Smeagol out. He's like, all right, okay, pal, that's enough protecting you. I'm going to beat you down now. I'm going to give in, right? I'm going to let my inner Sam out on you. And he goes, no, it was the precious. It wasn't me. I was possessed. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm so sorry. It wasn't me. Now he also can relate because he's sort of, tempted to become plasma possessed or whatever. And he goes like, oh, it was the precious. Oh my God, what am I doing? It was the precious. The precious did it. You see how he's using that, right? It's manipulation at its finest. Anyways, he lets him go. Smeagol falls off of a cliff. Apparently Smeagol is immune to fall damage. Like he falls all over the place throughout all 3 movies and never dies. Like huge falls. It's incredible. All right. So, Frodo finds the path. Once again, there's a tower at the end of the path, of course. Starts walking up the path towards the tower, and look what creeps up behind him. Oh, that was way too fast. God, he totally just got stuck by the spider. Oh man, he passes out. Boom. He's incapacitated. He's getting wrapped up now. Sam, boom, comes to the rescue. Grabs a little potion of light. And Sam's like, no. You can't get rid of me that easily. He totally goes through this epic fight with the spider, which I couldn't stand watching. Frodo is basically mummified, turns into a little mummy from the spider. He's stuck now. And Sam thinks he's dead. He's totally not dead, though. He's just sort of paralyzed. But a long time ago, they didn't know what paralyzed was, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, he says, wake up, wake up. Here's another wake up call for us watching. Wake up, right? Snap out of it. Stop just being a carcass walking around, going to jobs and doing what you're told and being programmed by the TV every day. Wake up, right? Because this is what you look like. This is what I would look like if that was me, right? With no purpose, just to live day to day, just to wake up and have another day for no reason, except for to go be a slave and to serve someone else. Okay, now my Sam's coming out, so let's move on. Whew. All right, so here's the blue blade, symbolic of the blue beam, boom, that glows whenever the orcs or the Anunnaki or whatever are on their way. Here comes some of the Anunnaki orc people. They come down, they see a little mummified Frodo. Looks like old Shalob's been having a little bit of fun, blah, blah, blah. He ain't dead. Now Sam's like, oh, snap, he's not dead? Damn, I totally thought he was dead. All right. So now he has to go follow them and try to revive him. Now, this guy, the other son, not the one does not simply son, but the other son from the steward, he went out into battle and he was brought back injured and knocked out. He's not dead. But the steward doesn't want the shame of having a son who was injured in battle who did not win the fight. So he pretends like he might as well just be dead. So he puts him onto a funeral pyre. And the hobbit, Pippin, he comes up and he's like, he's not dead. What are you doing? He's not dead. Right? He's only mostly dead, as they say. All right. Anyways, then, boom, the elven race. Or not the elven race. The other humans, they heard the call, right? Little Skyrim Keem pops up. He's like, all right, we're here to help. Now, they start charging into battle. And here's another one of his speeches, right? His little pep talks. He's like, and the world's ending. Death. Like, dude, that is not the words I want to hear right now. How about life? You know what I mean? This guy is not giving the most inspirational speeches. All right, so they charge into... The girl is like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing the speech thing again. Just charge into battle, dude. So they start charging. This right here represents Armageddon. This is the great battle at the end of time, or the end of each age. Not time. Time as in an eon. Time as in an increment of time. A very long increment of time, typically. We go to the Bible in Revelation 16:14. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth, whispering, and of the whole earth, to gather them together to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. And he gathered them together into a place called in Hebrew Armageddon. Now, let's take a look at that word real quick. Armageddon. Everyone hears Armageddon, they just think the end of the world. No. Armageddon is the location where this great battle takes place for Mount Doom, for the mountain, for Mount Meru, for the plasma volcano, for the Garden of Eden, for the place of safety. There's this great battle that takes place, according to the legends, right? And it's called Armageddon. So we associate that with the end of the world, but it's not. It's a location. It comes from the word har. Har means mountain, right? Megiddo is a location in Israel right now. So most people mistakenly believe that that's where the great battle is going to take place, right? Is at the mountain of Megiddo. Now, there is no mountain in Megiddo. Let me show you the mountain of Megiddo in Israel, where most biblical scholars believe that this end of the world war is going to take place. This is it. Does it look like a mountain? Does that look like any kind of mountain? No, there's a hill there. I'll give you that. Okay, it's like a little tiny hill. Not even a hill large enough to support world armies at large. You know what I mean? So people jump to the interpretation, well, the Bible must mean that the battle doesn't actually take place at a mountain, but there's like this little hill in a valley, and it's really talking about this valley or whatever. No, I don't think so. I do not believe that this great battle takes place in like Israel in the middle of this valley or whatever. It is the mountain of Megiddo. Now let's break down Megiddo real quick. Hold on, let me get to the word. I want to break this down. I don't have any notes on this, so this is just going to come from the top of the brain. Ar, that AR, okay, is short for Har, which means mountain. Ar itself means light or fire. Ar, or, right? So just go with mountain. Har. Megiddo. Mag. MG. That is the root word for magic, for magi, for magus, for great, for magnet. All of these words have the root of MG. The letter M represents pictorially life and water, and specifically something rising up out of or coming from the waters, coming up out of the waters. That's what the letter M represents, and that's why it looks like little watery waves or a mountain range or whatever, right? The G is Gimel. Traditionally, Gimel, or the letter G, which is our letter C, I know it gets a little confusing, but anyways, Mag. The M, out of the water. The G represents feet or movement, or specifically to lift up. So we've got something that lifts up out of the water, or if it's seen as being a foot, which is what the ancient symbol for the letter G is, or letter C, is a foot. It means or implies walking on water or walking across the water, right? The North Pole is, boom, dead in the middle of the waters. So those people that can walk on the waters are seen as being the magus or the magi or the magicians or the powerful ones or the people who have magic, etc. So Har Mag, the mountain that comes up out of the water. That's basically the translation there. So let's move on. I don't want to take up too much time on that. There's Megiddo. Okay. Denethor's lost his mind. He's trying to set his son on fire. He's burning Faramir alive. Dude, you gotta help, right? Gandalf's like, what's wrong with that dude? I already popped him with the staff. Damn. So this guy is literally pouring gasoline all over himself on top of this funeral pyre. He's completely lost his mind. Plasma possessed. He's got like the Ghostbusters goo looking stuff all over him. He says, set a fire in our flesh. And he thinks he's going to sacrifice himself. He thinks he's doing the right thing. Gandalf rushes in, beats him up with the staff again. I skipped that part, but anyways. So then we go back to the top of this white Tower of Babel looking thing where there is a white tower. Remember we talked about there's the white tower and the black tower, which is what I think that the reference to the two towers were actually. They don't do a very good job of explaining the towers and the tower symbolism and stuff like that. But I like that. I like that. I don't want them to do a great job of explaining it because I don't want people just giving me answers. I know many of you are probably like, I just wish someone would give me the answers. And that's great. I've been there too. But I don't. I do not want. I want people to give me clues. I like clues, but I don't want the answers. I don't want someone else to give me answers, I should say. I want to find those for myself. That's like an Easter egg hunt, right? I mean, I'm just saying, whatever. How fun would that be if someone just told you where all the eggs were? It's not fun at all. Anyway. All right. So this is the Tower of Babel. Symbolically, boom. Now we've got these huge elephants called olifants. These elephants bust out. The orcs are using them. Basically, I wanted to show you the elephants just because I believe personally that not all animals in this world are native to this world. I believe that there are actually some alien creatures that have transformed over time and adapted to their new environments, adapted to this world, and they have changed. They have shrank. They have, you know what I mean, grown different features and stuff. The elephant definitely is one of them to me. Looks like an alien creature. And now, check this part out. Hold on, let me get a drink here. So, little hobbit's talking to him, and he says, I didn't think that it would end this way. And he goes, end? Now, remember, they're talking to us, right? They're talking to those of us, the truth seekers in us, who are like, man, I didn't think the world would be so terrible, etc. I can't believe it's all going down like this. Gandalf says, end? No, the journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path. Now remember, he knows firsthand because he died and came back to life. One that we'd all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world rolls back. Now time out. Let's break that down. Don't let the poetry flood out or dilute the meaning, right? The gray rain curtain, the veil of this world, the sky, rolls back, opens up, and all turns to silver glass. All that you see turns into silver glass above, essentially. And then you see it. And he's like, what? What, Gandalf? What do you see, right? Whenever the veil is removed and you look up and you see the glass. White shores. Ah, interesting. I did a whole video, and I'll probably return to it and do a little follow-up on it because I haven't talked about it in a long time. But I believe that space and the Elysian fields and the heavens and stuff, that's bright. Space is not black. Space is white. Space is brilliant, and it's shining. The white shores and beyond. All right, so the Skyrim King is being charged at by one of the ring wraiths, which is one of those dragon thingies. And he's like, oh, man. The ring wraith comes right at him, and he's like, right? Like, I knew this was going to happen. Damn it. I told everyone we were going to die. Now I'm totally about to die, to get eaten by a damn dragon. Dragon eats him. The girl's like, oh, my God. I'm not surprised, but yeah. Right? She's kind of freaked out. The Witch King is on top of the dragon. He's like, eat his body or whatever. And the girl stands up and she's like, no. No, I can't allow that. I will kill you if you touch him, right? Now, she's unlikely as a hero, which are the best heroes, by the way. So if you're unlikely, you're the best hero. You're the best candidate to be a hero. She cuts off the dragon's head with a sword. Boom, the dragon's stumbling around. It dies. This dude is like pissed. He's like, that was my dragon. All right. Whoosh. Busts out his gigantic sword or whatever. Meanwhile, we go to the shores where the evil orcs are expecting some backup in the pirates that arrive on these black ships. But instead of pirates, out of the ship jumps Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. And they're like, ah, ha, ha. They're all laughing and stuff. But wait a minute. They think that it's just those three against all the orcs. But it's not. It's all the ghosts, right? They brought the spirit, the heart spirit, with them, right? To tackle and to win the battle. So all these ghosts flood up to the Tower of Babel. They flood throughout the city. They flood throughout all the people. They help to destroy all the bad guys. And the Witch King grabs the girl by the throat and he's like, no man can kill me. Excuse me. And she's like, I am no man. You just call me a dude? Like, I'm just playing. Sort of. Anyways, so she's like, I am no man. I'm a woman. Got you, sucker. And stabs him in the face. So basically, you can't fight fire with fire. We live in a male-dominant energy in this world. In order to fight that, you need to balance it out. What do you need to balance that out? Female energy. The spirits, the good spirits, flood everything. They're going to war. They're fighting for mankind. They're taking control of the Tower of Babel. And then he goes, okay, now release us, right? And he goes, be at peace. This is also sort of like symbolic of the dead coming back to life and stuff too. So then this guy, I love how they do this. He's supposed to be this scary ghost guy or whatever, right? And they always show him as all scary and stuff. But then whenever he's like, release us, he's like, yeah, go for it, man. Be at peace, right? When other people probably would have used their power and control over the ghost and the ghost army to control the earth once more, this guy says, nah, you go ahead. Be free, right? Be at peace. Be Frodo. And he smiles. He gives him like a ghostly, finally, yes, thank you. I love being at peace. This is great, right? Which is great. The truth brings that kind of a smile to me. All right, so then all the ghost people disappear. Boom. Frodo is like half naked, about to get eaten by some orc dude up in a tower. And boom, the blue blade goes right up through him and he goes, not if I stick you first. Sam comes back. Frodo gets his conscience back. And what happens? Oh, they put on these costumes. Or they need some clothes. And they head over towards Mount Doom. Remember, they still have to throw the ring into Mount Doom. They still have to destroy all of that evil essence, right? There's the all-seeing eye symbolism. He says, like, we have to go in there, Mr. Frodo. Come on, let's just make it down the hill for starters. Now, check this out. This is tiny, but it's crucial. Because they're looking out over all of this. All these lights down here, those are all orcs. There's like 10,000 orcs down there, like blocking them from getting to their destination. And when they come upon that and they see it all, there's this temptation to kind of give up hope. Like, there's no way we can make it through all of that, right? There's too many obstacles. Listen to what the conscience says, which is symbolically Sam. He says, we have to go in there, Mr. Frodo. Let's just make it down the hill for starters. Reasonable, right? Don't get overwhelmed. Stop looking at all of the bigger picture and stuff. Just focus on that one step. You know what direction you have to go in. Take that first step. Take the next step. Val, hey, good to see you. Oh, thank you, Val. Val, you're very sweet. All right. So he says, it's kind of like me. I can relate to this, right? Let's just make it down the hill for starters. That's what I say to myself when I have to do the dishes. And I have a big old pile of dishes and I do not want to do the dishes. I'm like, oh, look at all those orcs. Sam pops up. He's like, just wash that cup, Mr. Frodo. Just start by washing the cup, right? That's kind of like how I see it. If we keep Sauron's eye fixed on us, keep him blind to everything else that moves, Legolas is like a diversion. So basically their plan right now is to distract all those orcs and to move 10,000 orcs out of the way so that Sam and Frodo can make it to the mountain, right? Now Gimli, this is why I like Gimli. He goes, certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for? Freaking loves it, right? He's like, this is life. I love that dwarven mentality. When they're like, when there's danger, there's life. Like that's what it means to be alive, right? That's the whole glory of life is living on the edge. All right, so this part is very fun. So in order to distract that huge army that Sam and Frodo were just looking at, the 10,000 orcs, they take the humans up right to the gate of the bad guys to try to bring them out. They're trying to taunt them. They're like, hey, we're out here. Leave Sam and Frodo alone so they can get past, basically, right? So they stride up to the gate. There's a few of them that walk right up to the gate. Oh, how cool. That's some popcorn. Thank you. All right, so they walk right up to the gate. They get to the gate, the black gate. This is the entrance to the mountain. They look up to the gate tower, and Strider says, or Aragorn says, let the Lord of the Black Gate come forth. No answer. Basically, this guy's like, I blow my nose at you, so-called fair king. Now go away, or I shall taunt you a second time. And that didn't really happen. It's from Monty Python. But if you watch Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail, it shares a lot of similarities. Now, Sauron does not like that joke, so we're going to move on. All right, anyways. So he picks up his sword. He charges right at him. He's like, for Frodo! They charge. Frodo is on the side of this volcano, along with Sam. The army of orcs surrounds the army of the humans, which doesn't look very big in comparison. The mountain's blowing up. All hell's breaking loose. Frodo is like, no energy. He can see it. He's so close to the end. Sam gets up. You look back at the army. It totally has an all-seeing eye symbolism, right? It's the whole ideal. Or ideal. Sam picks up Frodo. Hey, Zoe. Thank you. Trinda, welcome. And thank you, Zoe. So Sam is a beast. He picks him up. Remember, he's the consciousness. He's the angel on the shoulder. Picks up Frodo. He's like, nah, we're finishing this. Takes him up. The king, or the future king, Strider, Aragorn, rushes headfirst, fearless, into the army of orcs. Yells out. Gandalf's like, yeah, me too. All the other people follow, right? Yeah, we can do it, right? And that's pretty important too. Those trailblazers, if it was like the opposite and some coward took off and ran away, there would probably be a bunch of people follow him. Instead, the people follow the leader and they take off. Sam picks up Frodo. He's taking him all the rest of the way. Next thing you know, Gollum's there. He's attacking him. And then he's like, they see these eagles fly in. And he's like, eagles! The eagles are coming! Eagle symbolism is actually pretty interesting to me. I don't know if you knew this, but eagles are of the same family of vultures. So the eagles come out, these gigantic birds, and they start fighting these plasma dragon things up in the sky. Frodo and Sam go into Mount Doom, where they finally have the opportunity to throw the ring into the fires. Frodo's standing on the edge, getting ready to throw the ring off the cliff, and he's like, destroy it! Frodo's like, could do that. Right? Could. He's like, come on, do it. Go, do it. I don't know why Sam is waiting so far away either. Look how far away he is. He's pretty far away. Anyways, so he's holding the ring over the edge. A lot of suspense. He's like, just let it go. And that's what we have to do too. To purge ourselves, to cleanse ourselves, let go of all of those old prized possessions that we thought gave us value. When in reality, it boils down to love. Boils down to family, boils down to tribes and things like that. He's getting hypnotized by it, and he's like, no, the ring is mine. Great. We came all this way. Frodo freaking puts on the ring, totally disappears. Sam's like, God dang it. Gollum is like, nah, F that. Jumps on the invisible Frodo. They start having this epic wrestling match with Frodo invisible. Gollum bites off his finger. That's the plasma. Remember, that's how you have to get the ring off, okay? That's how Sauron, that's how he lost it. He has to lose his finger in order for somebody else to get the ring. Why does he have to lose his finger? Because it's the plasma being cut off. It's the apocalypse ending, essentially. So more symbolism. I don't know why I took so many pictures. Oh man, my screen froze. Hopefully we're good. I'm going to continue on. All right, so then Golem falls into, like the Terminator, just falls right down into the fiery lava. And the ring falls down as well, where it should be, and it basically is destroyed. And Frodo is holding on for dear life on the edge of this cliff, and he's like, don't let go, don't let go. So for us, this is what it means. It means don't let go. Don't give up hope. Don't keep holding on. I know things look bad. They might look bad all the way up until what seems to be the end, but if you hold on, you'll be rewarded. If you hold on, you'll be glad you did. I promise. All right, so there's this war. The ring is destroyed, and the tower, the Eye of Sauron, it all comes crashing down. All of the evil in the world is slowly basically being eradicated. The armies, oh, check this out. Now the earth opens up, right? Or you might look at it as the earth is stretching or growing, possibly. But anyways, the earth opens up, and all the bad guys basically are swallowed up into the earth, where they fall down. The earth does not swallow up the armies where the good guys were. Mount Doom blows up. Now, all of those fires, those beacons that we talked about earlier that are lit symbolically, that represent us, the truth seekers, and the light that is in our hearts, it also might be physical, like the volcanoes all around the world, as little lights and beacons might start going off. So we should probably take heed to that when you start seeing a lot of volcanoes all of a sudden becoming active when they weren't before. Volcano blows up, boom, everyone's like, oh, damn. And then Frodo does this little jump. Oh, are we good? I hope we're still live streaming. Anyways, look at this little fancy jump that Frodo does, right? He's like, jumps, tries to avoid being blown up by the volcano or whatever. Anyways, volcano blows up. They're stranded on the side of the volcano with lava passing them like Anakin Skywalker. The eagles all show up. Gandalf's like, hey, sorry I didn't actually just, call the eagles before and just fly your asses here. That would have been easier. But hey, I'm here now. So the eagle picks them up, grabs these two, saves them, takes them off to a safe place. They go to Rivendell, where everyone has a good laugh, and he's like, oh, I just woke up, and you were there, Strider, and Gandalf, Gimli, you were there too. I'm just kidding. Anyways, he doesn't say that. But then the king is crowned, right? The king, the Strider, the Wanderer, he inherits the throne. Symbolically speaking, Gandalf gives him the crown. And Aragorn looks right at us, basically, and says, this day does not belong to one man, right? So it's not about like Adam and Eve. It's not about just two people surviving, right? It doesn't belong to a person, right? There's not one person that this is about. He says it belongs to all. Let us together rebuild this world, that we may share in the days of peace. Now, the girlfriend, the elf girlfriend, is like, yay, I totally hung out. I didn't leave. And he's like, oh my God. Walks up to the elf girlfriend and... yeah, you don't want to know the next thing. It's more kissing. Yeah. Is this a kissing book? Is this a kissing movie? Of all the kisses that were ever shared. Anyways, all right. So they get together, and the hobbits bow to the new king. And the king, listen to what the new king says as his first command, as his first order. They bow to him, and he goes, my friends, what are you doing? You bow to no one. And then the king bows to the hobbits, and everyone else takes a knee to bow to the most unlikely of heroes, the tiniest, the survivors of the last apocalypse, the hobbit people. All right, so then they go back to the Shire. The hobbits are at the local bar, the Green Dragon probably, having a drink, chilling. Everyone else is just being merry and having fun and being loud. These ones are kind of quiet in meditation. They all look at one another knowingly. I mean, if they thought they were friends before or acquaintances, they have something that has created a bond stronger than anything, which is adventure, experience, right? Living, really living life with other people. And so they all sort of share this look, you know, while these hobbits are all partying and stuff. And that's how they used to be. You know, they can still have a good time and stuff, but now they've matured a bit, right? They've grown a little since they were last in the Shire. They all share a knowing look with one another, just like many of you will too, as you develop your tribes. And we cheer and we drink. Now, Bilbo, they actually find Bilbo. It's only like 4 years later, and Bilbo is freaking super old looking, right? Because he got rid of the ring. So now he's aging pretty quickly. They take him to Rivendell, where they're going to say goodbye to him. The elves are all leaving, so Bilbo's going to go with them, basically to leave Middle-earth. And he goes with Agent Smith Elf. I forgot the name. Oh, and then Gandalf's like, hey, you too, Frodo. Are you coming with us? And Frodo's buddies are like, whoa, what? You're going too? He's like, yeah, I got stabbed by the witch guy. I totally don't feel great. I got to go. Sam's like, no, you can't leave. You can't leave me. Well, he does. So they go between the two pillars, between the pillars of Hercules, etc. They leave the known world. They go with the elves, etc., probably into the world or outside of it. Who knows? And then Sam is talking right now. Frodo's talking, and we're seeing Sam, right, who gets married, has a family and everything. And Frodo has written a book, right? Remember, Bilbo wrote of his adventures. Frodo continued to add to the book, and he wrote of the Lord of the Rings and his adventures. Just like somebody out there is going to write of my adventures and your adventures, right? We're all going to be characters in a story. Very interesting and I'm honored to be a part of it, honestly. And Frodo says, you cannot always be torn in two. He's talking to you. He's talking to me. You cannot always, humanity, us, we cannot always be torn in two, which reminds me of like the Skeksis and the Mystics, right? From the Dark Crystal, how they were one spirit that was torn into two, divided internally, right? Not just divided as a people, but divided from being one with oneself. You cannot always be torn in two. You will have to be one and whole for many years. Interesting, right? This balance will return. Right now, we're torn into two. Right now, it's a male-dominant energy in our world, but we will hit a neutral point, a balance point. You have so much to enjoy and to be and to do. Your part in the story will go on. The end. Well, that is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I really cherish these moments with all of you. I know I haven't been in the chat that much, but God, there's so much to talk about. I can't even be in the chat because we'll be here forever. Anyways, if you have some movie recommendations for what you'd like to see me break down, feel free to leave me a suggestion. I get a lot of my movies directly from the Good Vibe Tribe. Until next time, I'm just going to let you guys go. I've had a great journey. I look forward to many, many more stories and many more journeys with all of you. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
So hard to fade away. I try so hard to fade away, but something's forcing me to stay. It'd be easier for me